What was the difference in the score?
Tico doesn't take it well when he actually loses a game
It
against
doesn't
me.
happen often, so
Sorry.
I do feel I need to argue the points every time it does happen because something's horribly broken with the game if it happens that way. So
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I'm not a big. I'm kind of a sore loser, a little bit. So we have a tendency to play cooperative games. That way, everybody wins, or we all
Yeah.
lose together. So it's not so bad.
That's maybe
Probably
that's maybe that's why I love co-op games so much because I hate losing.
Could be
And
that.
right, and then that way everyone works together to make sure we all win. Because I love co-op games. I really do. I have a passion for co-op games. But we're not here to talk about co-op games, Sean. We are here to talk about Hivernation. So welcome to
Yes.
Kicking Tables. It's good to have you. You and I have met a few times already because you're actually local. Not only do you have the same name as me and spelt correctly, but we're local to each other, which is awesome.
Right.
So
We're in the same county, or
yeah, exactly.
area.
Exactly. So, Hibernation hits Kickstarter tomorrow, and tell us all about it. Tell our viewing audience what Hibernation is.
Hibernation is a bee-themed strategy game where players either pick drones or worker bees to do battle within a hive that they build. Pardon me, I've got a cat. Here you. You're ruining my pitch, buddy. We'll try that again. So, Hibernation is a bee-themed strategy game where players pick either worker bees or drone bees to build out the hive, and ultimately they attack each other. And because the tiles are double-sided, they flip each other's tiles over, and whoever has the most tiles by the end is the clear winner. So.
Very simple. It's such an easy game to describe.
It's an easy concept to grasp, and the rules are easy to learn, but the game itself is hard to master.
Yeah. We have played it, Tico and I have played it with a friend of mine. We had your prototype for about a week, and I really enjoyed it. I will say that every time I played it, I won, so that's why I really enjoyed the game.
There you go. That's a plus.
You got all that
Otherwise-
extra practice. So
Yes.
So Sean, I want to know, what was the inspiration for this game? Why Hibernation? Why bees? Why, where did you come up with the idea?
Well, the bees actually were secondary to the initial concept of the game.
Okay.
I had the concept for the game while I was working one day. I used to be a stainless steel fabricator, and as our game group got deeper into playing games every week and making it a sort of a ritual for ourselves, I started thinking games all the time while I was at work. And I had a tendency to work solo quite a bit, so I just had my mind spinning on things. And one day I came up with this concept. What about tiles? Why don't we put down some tiles? And if they get on either side of each other, they flip each other over, and they're double-sided. And it just sort of grew from a mechanic first.
Yeah.
And then I brought that to our game group and sort of said, what about this? Do you like this idea as a concept? And they said, yeah, let's test it out. And so as we were testing and building out all of these hexagons on the table, the idea and the theme of bees sort of naturally happened.
Right.
We actually, the tiles themselves were made out of a mat board. But on top of that, we glued down some circle cut out pieces of colored paper. And that, with the mat board, the shape and stuff, they just looked like hollow beehive chambers and things like that. So it sort of naturally came out of that.
That's awesome. Now, when you were creating this, of course, it resembles Othello, the game, the classic game of Othello, which you actually, from what you were telling me when we were talking in real life, people, that actually happens still. When we were talking in real life, you said you actually had never played Othello, and yet somebody pointed out that your game is very Othello-like.
Yes, I have played Othello. It's just been a really, really long time.
It is an old game, that is for sure.
Yeah, I had a very small fold-up travel set.
Oh yes.
When I was a kid, it was magnetic, and all the pieces just stuck to the top. You folded it out, and away you went.
Right.
But but yeah, no, it took somebody else actually pointing out to me that I had had taken that main mechanic from Othello and just re-envisioned it in a hexagonal format.
Right.
And it didn't even clue into me at all that this, because I actually, when I came up with the first concept, drawing on my bench at work, these hexagons, I thought I had come up with something really new. And I was like, oh my God, I've never seen a game like this. This is something, it's going to change everything. And it turns out to be one of the oldest game mechanics in history.
But what Hivernation brings to Othello, if I may, is something very, very unique. And why don't you talk about your special tiles? Because that really changes the game.
Yeah, the game, the initial concept of the game, I was calling it Swarm at that time, was just the double-sided regular Othello kind of attack move where you just flipping tiles and flipping tiles. And while we were doing that and designing that, we didn't think that was robust enough of a play experience. And because it was always offensive, you were always on the attack, there was no way to defend. So we decided that there must be, we can make the game a little better and we can embellish it a little bit more and give another opportunity to play a different strategy if we add in some other tiles. And the first one we came up with, which became the bear tile, was sort of this blocker tile. We said we need to find a way to stop tiles from being able to be attacked. So we came up with a stopper tile, but it didn't work very well. You put it at the end of a line you wanted to protect, and we found that you could easily get to the first tile right in front of it, and then it didn't really work. So we went back to the drawing board and changed the mechanics so that now any of the tiles that it touches are also protected, and you can't touch those, you can't flip those. And that changed the whole thing. It had fixed the problem. And that eventually graduated into the bear tile, which in the game protects your tiles from being flipped.
It's a powerful tile.
Yeah.
It is. It's really good because you can set up like a little defensive hub or a little base of operations you can constantly reach out from, which is quite nice. And then on top of that, so because the main mechanic takes B tiles in a line, we wanted to find another way for you to be able to attack your opponent, and that is how the flower tile showed up. And it works very similarly to the bear tile in that wherever you place it, anything around it is affected, and ultimately what it does is it flips over your opponent's tiles which are touching it. So if your opponent has a nice little nest of drone bees over here, yeah, exactly, you can throw a flower tile right in the middle of it, cover one up, and flip 6 others. And ultimately your scoring has gone from 7 up over here to 7 down, 7 up. So it's like a 14-point switch.
That's right.
It's a nice swing. Yeah.
So yeah, that's how that came about, and it pretty much wrote itself. And we ended up mimicking sort of the mechanics off of that and mapped them onto the bear tile. And then ultimately we took we needed one more thing, and we reached into the theme at this point to sort of say, what else can we drag out and have some fun with? And we came up with a way to remove tiles from the game, which was the pesticide tile. And when that one comes into play, it works very similarly in that whatever tiles underneath it comes out of the game, and anything that it's touching.
Right.
And as an added bonus, anything that was built out from that is now disconnected from the rest of the main body of the hive, that's it. It has to go too.
That is a powerful move right there, because you could take out
a lot.
You could take off an entire wing of tiles, but you can also take out your own in the process. But that is a massive attack right there.
Yeah. Sometimes that might be what you have to do too. You have to sacrifice 3 of your own to get 8 of your opponents.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So I want to hear, Sean, plug your ears for a second.
No.
I want to hear some of the expert. No, other Sean. This is going to be confusing. I need your help beating him. So I need some expert strategies. When's the best time to drop one of those flowers, or to drop Bruce? When strategically is the best time to play some of these tiles?
I find that in the game, if you've got your opponent has a line of tiles and you have a line of tiles that are butted up against each other, that's a really good time to throw a bear tile in, because ultimately what can start happening in the game, there's a way of taking tiles in more than one direction. because the tiles are hexagonal. And so when you've got two lines of tiles side by side, they line up so nicely that you can put one on the other side of your opponent and go in two directions. And then they're constantly pulling specialty tiles off the top of the pile, which is, something that you don't want to do. Yeah. So I find that works really well for throwing the bear tile in there, because then it really stops your opponent from being able to do that, and you set yourself up to take their stuff without them being able to get it back.
Right.
Okay.
So that's something that we have noticed that actually works really well as a strategy, as long as you can get there. If your opponent doesn't have that move ahead of you, then that works. That sets things up fairly well. And I personally, I really like playing the flower tiles early.
Oh,
I don't like waiting. So once I've got 4 or 5 tiles in the hive, and my opponent has 4 or 5 tiles in the hive, if they're clustered, I'll throw a flower tile in there.
Just steal everything.
Steal everything early.
Just kind of push them out of the game. And if they don't have something else that they can work with, then there's a possibility you could win right there. Yeah. But chances are there's something that is open that your opponent will be able to attach to again and continue going for a while.
That's brutal.
It's rattling.
Get rid of everything you just done.
It's rattling at the front. It's like I don't know if you watched the Queen's Gambit television series.
I did. Wonderful movie.
But there was
series.
that one game that she played with the young boy when she was in Brazil, I think it was, and every time she made a move, she got up and she walked away, and she looked at something else until it was her turn, and then she came back to the table, made her move, and she left again. And it was all about psyching out her opponent. She was trying the psychological manipulation. I find doing that flower tile right at the beginning there, you thought you had something going, and I just stole all of it.
Yeah,
that's a good.
So, if you can flip all of your opponent's tiles even early in the game, and they have nowhere to connect, if they can't connect to the queen, the game's over.
Pretty much, yeah. At that point, the only thing you really might have left in your arsenal would be whatever your specialty tiles are.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, one note is that you start the game not only with 20B tiles for anybody listening here, but 3 specialty tiles as well. You get those on as part of your starting hand.
Right.
So,
okay. Yeah. So you could you don't have to play all 20 tiles. You could, if you dominate the board and there's nowhere to play for your opponent, that's game over. Interesting.
That is true. Yep.
Okay.
You can push right out of the game. Yep.
That's what I'm going to do next time.
I haven't seen it happen yet. It's usually because of the hexagonal nature of it and the way it's kind of an amorphous blob that goes in multiple directions. It is kind of tough to push your opponent right out of the game, right out of the gate. But
not impossible.
No,
you're saying there's a chance.
Yes.
All right.
Tico is determined to be that one to do it.
We're going to take a screenshot. We'll take a photo of it. We're going to post it everywhere as soon as that happens.
So I understand the game actually you must have gone through different titles, because you just mentioned a different title earlier, Swarm, and then I watched a video where it was called Honey Bomb.
Yes.
So tell us a story behind these name changes. Why the name changes? What brought you to Hivernation eventually, or ultimately?
Well, yeah, the initial idea I had for the game was called Swarm, and the concept of the sort of the finishing concept of the entire game was that once all the tiles were on the table, you were able to pick them up and move them around and keep attacking your opponent until only one person survives. And that's actually a variant that we have in the rules.
Yeah, that's your domination variant.
That's right.
Yeah.
I actually really like that one. I think it's quite challenging, but you do have to get to the point where all the tiles are on the table. Again, there is an opportunity to push your opponent out of the game before you get there. But so at that time I had that idea that Swarm, this is what's happening, because the game is moving as you change and move things around. It becomes this kind of a mass of tiles shifting around on the table. But then as we started developing the game and we came up with the bee theme and we had other things going on in the game with the bears and the flowers, it didn't feel like it captured the entire aesthetic of the game anymore.
Okay. So
we came up with Honey Bomb. It's at the time we thought, hey, that sounds pretty cool. It sort of it ties in with bees. It's dynamic. It's got an interesting sort of flair to it. And we actually ended up designing the flower tiles based on the concept of the name. So the flower tiles in the game are actually kind of a cross-up between a flower and a firework.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
How we did it. We wanted them to look like they were kind of glowing and firing at the same time. So that was kind of the bomb component of that title. We wanted to bring that in, and these are sort of going to be our flower bombs or our honey bombs in the game. But as we got closer and did the art a little better and got the box figured out and some of the instructions and stuff, again, things had sort of morphed to a new level, and it didn't really fit as tightly with the theme. And ultimately, Hibernation is based on real bee behavior, and that is that when the winter comes around and the fall hits and things are getting colder, all the drone bees from all these beehives all around the world are thrown out of the hives to their deaths, essentially.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. They in order for the body of the hive to overwinter, they basically cut the dead wood out of their hive. And after the spring, the drones really don't offer any value to the hive. They just sit around and eat. So it's basically what they do. So when the winter hits, they throw them out so that the mass of them who are really, all the workers in the hub and the heart of the hive can survive. So we based our theme on that, and that we found was missing from the title. We didn't have that main emphasis from nature in there. So we started riffing off the idea of hibernating and winter, and we have a hive, and we have these other things, and ultimately it was a mashup of hive and hibernating.
Hibernating, yeah.
So we came up with Hivernation as the title, and it just sort of we did a little bit of market research. We threw it out to some friends and to some groups on Facebook and other places, and it got the most upvotes.
I'm surprised it wasn't already a word.
It is.
It is a word.
There you go.
It's a French word.
Yeah.
And it's gently different from hibernating. Hibernating is like a biological process. And then hibernation in French is like a slowing down at that time of year. It's not hibernating.
So that's what I do.
Yeah.
But I do that year round.
That's what we all do.
Year round.
Yeah, we start to slow down in the winter. Yeah, it's like a nuanced change in the word, and it actually does exist.
So not only are we learning about your game, but we're learning all about real bee behavior. That's awesome. There's a real education hour right here.
Yeah. We didn't necessarily set out for the game to be educational, but there will be probably moments where new things will be learned. So
it doesn't hurt to have a little education thrown in there accidentally.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. Learn something every day.
Yeah, so I want to know about your campaign. I heard you may have some special stretch goals coming up with your campaign. I'd love to hear about what you have planned.
Yeah. Our campaign is pretty straightforward and fairly simple. The advice that we have been given is make the campaign about your game.
Yeah.
Get your game done. Get it out there into people's hands, because we're all creative people. Myself, my wife, and our friend Sabrina. We're all makers of a sort. So we have ideas. We have T-shirts and mugs and pin ideas and all this stuff. And they're like, no, kickstart the game.
Just make the game.
Just hold on for the other stuff. So our campaign is fairly straightforward, and we feel that we've developed Hibernation to the point where it doesn't need extra gameplay. It doesn't need extra tiles or any of that sort of stuff. So none of our stretch goals are going to be based on adding that sort of extra player cards or things of that nature to the game. We're really happy with where it landed, and we hope other people will be too. And then ultimately, we're going with a pretty decent manufacturer, Panda Games. They're a Canadian company, actually, off the West Coast, but they have manufacturing in China, and they do all of the Stonemaier games, and we're really happy with their quality. So we want to, come out swinging with something nice. So all the materials we're using are already high-end as well. So our stretch goals we don't really need to add anything in there. It's going to be a nice box and beautiful tiles with linen finish and all that already. So ultimately we thought, how do we give back? How do we thank the people who are going to support us? And we're going to be giving back games. Ultimately,
Nice.
when we fund, we're going to be giving a certain number of games, like refunding essentially a certain number of games at random to the people who are backing us.
That's so
And as
unique.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's just a little way that we can sort of add a bit of fun, a little element of randomness and an opportunity and a little thank you, for people helping us make our first game come to life. And then, as we make a little bit more money here and a little bit more money there, we're going to add more games. So the more money we make, the more chances there are.
That's awesome.
So it's sort of that incentive as well to kind of keep passing the word and helping people out.
That is
helping us out.
such a unique way to do your stretch goals, is to give back to the backers. That is fantastic. That's really great.
I have one. I have one for you if you want it, just as an idea. Just have one box that's randomly filled with real bees.
Yeah,
And
that's how they come. That's how they
Yeah,
come.
that's you can order them like that.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
it's full of
Yeah,
bees.
Yeah, just
They
have
come in
but
a
one
box.
one box is just filled with a box full of live bees. You're back. And just think of the social media attention that will get when somebody opens that box.
I can imagine.
It's like the
actually. That
golden
would be-
ticket.
You can't buy that kind of advertising.
You can't.
So we have a new segment that we've just started called the Lightning Round. We ask you a whole bunch of questions just to find a little bit more about you and your gaming habits and stuff like that. So these are all board game night related questions. Just answer as well. First thing that comes to mind. You up for that?
Okay. Sure. Let's get
all
into
right.
it.
Favorite modern game?
Eldritch Horror.
All right. Okay. All right. Last game you purchased?
That would be the House of Danger Choose Your Own Adventure.
Oh, nice.
Oh, great.
That's a great game.
Love that one. All right. Game you love but always lose?
Mansions of Madness. That's an easy one.
Oh, really? I love that game. Yeah, that's not an easy one to win. That is for sure.
Yeah, there's
There's
a
one
lot thrown
scenario
at you.
there's one scenario that I don't want to play anymore because we just can't win. I'm just done.
Fair enough.
All right, first game you ever played?
Probably IQ 2000.
Oh, I love that game. So
That's
good.
an oldie but a goodie.
Yes.
We had that in my. I remember that in my grade 3 classroom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I got it when I was about 6.
Yeah.
Fun game. Worker placement or area control?
I think I prefer area control.
Okay.
All right. Last game you played?
Harry Potter, Hogwarts Battle.
Nice.
Okay. Fun game, yeah. Game that you always win?
Hibernation?
Do you? Okay.
You can't win your own game.
Game that I always win. Fury of Dracula.
Okay.
I'm good at that.
I don't know
right.
that one.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good game. Favorite game mechanic?
Probably, I like deduction, personally. So I'm really a big fan of the unlock games and the exit games and those sorts of deduction type games. So
Nice.
I like that.
That's
That's one of the things that comes up in Fury of Dracula, which I really love.
excellent. Excellent. That's awesome. That's some great answers there. And man, IQ 2000, that brings me back. Man, I love that game so much. That I'm going to be honest. That is a game that I always won. I always won that game when I played against people. I remember, that's probably why I loved it so much when I was a kid, because no one could beat me at that game. And Stratego was another one that no one could ever beat me at. I loved it. Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah.
I've got an old Stratego set downstairs, actually.
Yeah, I still have my old Stratego as well, back from the, what is it, 70s or 80s or whatever it was.
They're gonna be collector's items.
Oh yeah. I've got a 1972 edition of Clue upstairs. So.
Oh wow, there you go.
It was $3, I think, when my parents bought it.
Nice.
Anyway, Sean, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show. But before we let you go, give us the elevator pitch for Hivernation. Why should people back this game?
It's fun.
Beautiful. That's
And we agree with that, by the way. We can concur with that statement.
Yeah, we will have our preview of the game will be up tomorrow.
Today.
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Okay, tomorrow.
If you're watching it today, then maybe it's whatever, and we're going to confuse everybody. But anyway,
That's
look
true.
for our preview as well. Chico and I found the game was super fun, but with a really deep strategy. Like it's like said earlier in the interview here that I feel like the special tiles really change the nature of the game. The strategy you use with those tiles is just fantastic, and I loved the game. So definitely go check out Hivernation. It will be on Kickstarter April 13th, and you need to go check it out. The link will be in the description, so you can just click on it and go check it out there. But Sean, good luck on the campaign, and thanks so much for joining us tonight.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you for having me on. Hi there. Thank you for watching our preview of or our rundown of Hibernation. It's been wonderful to get to know you and you to get to know me. While you're here on the channel watching OMG Nexus, don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell for notifications so that you know when new videos go live. We'll talk to you again.